Hi, it's Hugh Taylor coming to you from my increasingly messy home office. And I want to just tell you I love you so much that I'm making this video for you on my 58th birthday. So happy birthday to me. And today we're going to talk about a subject that frankly has been bugging me because I'm getting this question a lot. And I'm a little frustrated, and I shouldn't be because it's about a sort of an esoteric issue in public relations. And why would you know anything about it? So let me try and answer this question. I get asked this all the time. Can you publish an article for me in a major media outlet? Like, I want to be in the Wall Street Journal. Can you get an article about me published in there? Or I wrote an article. Can you publish it in the Wall Street Journal? Let me answer those questions for you. 3 things you need to know about getting an article published in a major media outlet. Okay? Quickly, they are: you cannot place an article on a major media site. Number 2, press release distribution can automatically place your press release on some, but not all major media sites. And number 3, some media outlets accept contributed articles. Okay, so let's dig into that and see what it's all about. Okay, number 1, no, you cannot place articles on major outlets. Major outlets are in the news business. They write about what they consider interesting, and no offense, that's most likely not you, okay? And I don't mean to sound mean or snooty about it. You just have to be realistic and understand what they do and who you are, okay, and where you stand with them. Major outlets do not offer placement of articles with some very expensive exceptions. If you have, I don't know the price, it's probably at least $100,000. You can publish an opinion on the New York Times editorial page if they'll accept it, okay? That's the only time when they might take an article written by someone else for placement. Understand the difference between a press release and an article. And this is something, and I should not be frustrated by this because why would anybody know this except someone who works in this business? But it's an important thing to understand if you are a customer of public relations services. And I want to say that some of my colleagues in the public relations field are a little bit ambiguous about this, and it causes some confusion. A press release, which I'm showing on the left here as an example, is a written statement written by you announcing some news about yourself. Okay, it's your news, you wrote it. Okay, an article, which I'm showing an example from the New York Times about the Secretary of State talking to China. It's an article written by a reporter who works for the publication. It's assigned by an editor at that publication, and it's about a topic their readership cares about, okay? If you think that their readership will care about your story, they might write an article about you, but you have to use your common sense, okay? If you read the Wall Street Journal, I want you to think about how many times they've written an article about somebody like you, okay? Let's say you're a career coach, or you own a franchise restaurant. That's great. It's not interesting to the Wall Street Journal. And use your common sense. Do you think they're going to take an article written by you about you? They won't. And I don't mean that to be rude. I'm just giving you reality here. Let's talk about how a press release turns into an article. This is the standard process. There's a lot of variations on it, but usually it goes something like this. A publicist, someone like me, writes and submits a press release to a media outlet. Like, I'll send it to a reporter or an editor saying, here's an interesting story, why don't you consider writing about it? The reporter may decide to include the press release topic in an article, or may write an article based on what's in the press release, but they're going to write the article. They're the reporter, they're the professional writer, they're assigned by the editor, they do the writing of the article. The reporter may want to talk to you about your press release. They may interview you, and they may quote you in the article that they write, not the article that you write, okay? And I don't write the press release to be placed, wholly in the publication, certainly not with a major publication. The reporter writes the article, the media outlet publishes the article. That's the process. You end up, hopefully, with something resembling your press release in the article, okay? And that's assuming that they are interested in your story as you tell it. And this is an important thing to understand. Reporters are not interested in telling your story. They want to tell their story. And sometimes telling their story might involve you making you look bad. You have to be very careful about this kind of thing, okay? And so my bonus question here is, do you need to be on a major site? This is an issue that came up when I was working for some large corporations where executives would say to me, I want an article in the New York Times. I want an article about our product in the Wall Street Journal. Now, at these companies, like I worked at Microsoft and IBM and other big companies, you can get an article about you in the Wall Street Journal. The public relations firms we work with had relationships with the editors. The question to ask, though, was, do you need one? For example, I worked in the Microsoft Office marketing organization, and I would ask people, do you think an article in the Wall Street Journal will help increase revenue for Microsoft Office? Do people who read the Wall Street Journal buy Microsoft Office? And the answer is really no. If you want to increase sales of Microsoft Office, get yourself written up in PC Week or Information Week. That's going to spur interest in Microsoft Office. So it's really more about, what are you really trying to accomplish? You want to feed your ego? You want to have an article like clipped out on the wall about you in a major publication? Or are you trying to grow your business? Ask yourself that question. Number 2, press release distribution can automatically place your press release on certain sites. So PR Newswire, among others, can automatically syndicate your press release onto certain sites like Yahoo Finance. And there's an example on the right. This is a project we did a couple of months ago where we wrote a press release for Pet Shopping TV about their deal with Chumley, the reality star, and we put it through PR Newswire, and Yahoo Finance automatically picks it up. Okay, it's an automated process, and it's great, but the question is, what's the purpose of this? I mean, it can help with search engines to have a link on Yahoo Finance, and it can make you look good, like it's like, oh, we got a clipping on Yahoo Finance, but it's not the same as having a reporter actually write an article about you. Important distinction to note. And it's not cheap. This is a service that costs, and PR Newswire, starts at around $500. Okay. Number 3, some media outlets accept contributed articles. Okay. This is true, and including some high prestige outlets like Harvard Business Review, Entrepreneur.com, Forbes, they do accept articles written by people who are not on their reporting staffs. Okay. But in general, what you might call the major media, like USA Today, Los Angeles Times, Washington Post, they don't accept contributed articles. It's a really important thing to remember. Now, contributed articles can be a great way to do public relations. It's a really good way to establish thought leadership and show that you are contributing to the important dialogues in your industry and so forth. But it is not an easy or simple proposition. You have to write the article and then submit it to them, and they may say no, and chances are they will. It's very competitive, as you can imagine. People want to be in Harvard Business Review. So I don't know how many articles they get, but I would imagine they publish, less than 5% of the articles they get. So you have to be ready to be told no. It's a lot of work, but it can pay off. And then my last point is to be aware of pay-to-play deals. I'm not saying beware of them, although you have to be careful about it. Sometimes these outlets will say, if you pay us a fee, we'll publish your article. That is not necessarily a bad thing. Some people are like, oh, I don't want to do that. And you have to be a little careful, know what you're buying. But if in some cases, it can be quite a good arrangement. You pay a fee and you get your article published. Then you have the search engine benefits of having the article published, and you have the clipping you can show to people. It just depends. You have to really look at it carefully, what they're offering and what you're buying and for what price. And the fundamentals still apply. What's in it for the media outlet? This is true for any media outreach. Why should their audience care about your story? And then, of course, for you, how does your article align with your broader marketing and business objectives? There should be a fit. If your goal is to, sell a new version of your product, then how is the article going to help you achieve that goal? It's better to think that way than just like, let's get some exposure just for the sake of getting exposure. That is not an optimal approach. Those are my thoughts on this matter. It's not the most positive video I've ever made, but I want people to be aware of how things work. I really hate it when people come to me because they've been sort of misled by somebody in the PR industry, and they want to know if I can do something that really isn't possible because they've gotten this idea from someone who isn't really on the up and up. You can learn more about it. My free ebook, Stop Being Invisible, offers a lot of thoughts on how this process really works. And we'd love to work with you. And if we can help you in any way or answer any other questions, we encourage you to get in touch, commsfactory.net. There's a special offer for press release writing and distribution in the description section below. So consider clicking on that, and we look forward to being in touch.